No? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. So this morning, inshallah ta'ala, we intend to speak regarding the night prayer in the month of Ramadan, Qiyamul Layl. And the speech is going to be within a number of points. And these points are intended to make the information easy to comprehend and easy to retain. And so we say, seeking the help of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the first point is connected to Asma Qiyamul Layl, the names of the night prayer. The names of night prayer. Amongst its names is Qiyamul Layl, Qiyam al-Layl, the standing at night. Amongst its names is Salat al-Layl, Salat al-Layl, or the night prayer. Amongst its names is At-Tahajjud, At-Tahajjud. Amongst its names is Witr. Shaykh al-Albani, he mentions that the entirety of the prayer is Witr. The entirety of the prayer is Witr, because you're going to conclude the prayer with an odd number of rak'at. So therefore the prayer in its entirety is Witr. And within the month of Ramadan, it is referred to, of course, as Taraweeh. Shaykh Abdul Aziz ibn Baz, he mentioned as-salat fil layl tusamma tahajjudan. He said the night prayer, it is referred to as tahajjud. Wa tusamma qiyam al-layl. It's also called qiyam al-layl, kama qala Allah ta'ala, wa min al-layli fatahajjad bihi nafilatan lak. Allah ta'ala, he mentions, and from the night tahajjad. From the night tahajjad nafilatan. Make tahajjud prayer as an optional act of ibadah. The Shaykh, he says, وَأَمَّا التَّرَوِيهِ فَهِيَ تُطْلَقْ عِنْدَ الْعُلَمَاءِ عَلَى قِيَامِ اللَّيْلِ فِي Ramadan. Then it is referred to this by the ulama within the month of Ramadan. أول الليل مع مراعاة التخفيف وعدم الإطالة. He says, and this is because it is done in the earlier portion of the night, and you are paying attention to make the prayer light and not make it long upon the people. So therefore, Taraweeh, from the same root as Raha, meaning ease, and ease and comfort, relaxation, and those terms that are synonymous for it. وَيَجُوزُ أَن تُسَمَّى تَهَجُّدًا. It is also permissible to refer to it as tahajjud, even in Ramadan. وَأَن تُسَمَّى قِيَامًا لِلَّيْلِ. And you can call it qiyam al-layl. And there is no harm in either of these terminologies. The next point is in relation to the ruling of the night prayer. The ruling of the night prayer. As for its ruling in the legislation, in Qiyam Ramadan or Salat al-Taraweeh, is sunnatun mustahabba. It is a sunnah that is recommended. It is a sunnah that is recommended. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged it, and he would perform it. It has come on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that he said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يراغب في قيام وفي قيام رمضان من غير أن يأمرهم. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, he would strongly encourage the night prayer in the month of Ramadan without making that binding upon them. فيه بعزيمة, without making it firmly binding upon them. فيقول, he would say, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. He would say alayhi wasalam, whoever stands in prayer in the month of Ramadan shall have whatever has proceeded of his sins to be forgiven for him. As it relates to its virtue, and this is the next point, the fadila or the fadl of the night prayer in the month of Ramadan, its fadail, and then its fadail are many, its virtues are many. amongst the virtues of the night prayer in the month of Ramadan is the Salatul Layl min mujibat dukhul Jannah. It is from those things that will bring about the entrance into the Jannah of Allah wa ta'ala. Being consistent upon the night prayer in general, in Ramadan, outside of Ramadan. The night prayer, as the ulama mentioned, is amongst the characteristics of Ahlul Jannah. They pray night prayer in the dunya. Now, and likewise, it is a means for attaining lofty and high levels in paradise. It has been reported by Imam Ahmad alayhi rahmatullah on the authority of Abu Malik al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu that he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن في الجنة غرفا. That paradise has rooms. Paradise, it has rooms. يرى ظاهرها من باطنها. The outside can be seen from the inside. وباطنها من ظاهرها. And the inside can be seen from the outside. These rooms are transparent such that the outside can be seen from the inside and the inside can be seen from the outside. أعدها الله لمن ألان الكلام. Allah has prepared these rooms for those who are soft-spoken. وَأَطْعَمَ الطَّعَامِ. And they feed the people. They feed others. وَتَابَعَ الصِّيَامِ. And they fast consistently. وَصَلَّى بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسِ نَيَامِ. And he prays at night while the people are sleeping. This corresponds with the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Allah Ta'ala describes the believers. He describes his believing slaves with this description of the night prayer, saying that their sides forsake their beds, invoking their Lord out of fear and hope, and they spend from that which we have provided them with. And thereafter, Allah Ta'ala, he mentions, فَلَا تَعْلَمُوا نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِنْ قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. That no soul knows what has been kept hidden from him as a joy and a coolness for the eyes, as a reward for that which they used to do. At-Tabari, he mentioned concerning this ayah in his tafsir, saying, حَدَّثَنَا بِشْرٌ قال حدثنا يزيد قال حدثنا سعيد عن قتادة عن الحسن البصري أنه قال في قول الله تعالى تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع أي قيام الليل. The Hassan al-Basri said concerning this verse in his tafsir that this verse refers to Qiyamul Layl, it refers to the night prayer. He likewise said that Yunus narrated to us saying that Ibn Wahab narrated to us saying that Ibn Zayd narrated to us about the statement of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, their sides forsake their beds. قَالَ هَؤُلَاء مُتَحَجِّدُونَ لِصَلَاةِ اللَّيْلِ. They are those who pray tahajjud at night. They are those who pray tahajjud at night. He likewise mentioned with his chain of narration leading up to Al-Hasan al-Basri saying that Waraqa, he said that Ibn Abi Najih reported from Mujahid that he said about the statement of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, their sides forsake their beds. He said, يَقُمُونَ يُصَلُّونَ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ, that they stand up and they pray at night. So we see from this, barakallahu feekum, that Allah Ta'ala has commended the people of paradise, or he commended the believers for having this characteristic. Their sides forsake their beds. They get up at night and they make the night prayer. From its virtues as well is that Qiyamul Layl is amongst the Asbab al-Maghfirah. It's amongst the means that will bring about the forgiveness of Allah wa Ta'ala. It will bring about for you Allah's Maghfirah. It has come on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu that he said, that the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam said, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever stands at night and prays in the month of Ramadan out of iman, out of belief that fasting in Ramadan is an obligation upon him, and belief in the virtue of Ramadan, and likewise ihtisaban, anticipating and hoping for the reward of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, should have whatever has proceeded of his sins to be forgiven. Likewise, amongst the fada'il of the night prayer in the month of Ramadan, or the night prayer in general, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has commended and praised those who perform it. Allah has commended and praised those who perform it. Allah Ta'ala, He mentioned when speaking about the characteristics of Ahlul Khair, He says, وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا. Those who spend the night in worship of their Lord, سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا, prostrating and standing, meaning prostrating and standing in prayer. Amongst its virtues as well is what has come in the hadith that is reported about Al-Hakim from the hadith of Abu Umama al-Bahili, who said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, alaykum biqiyam al-layl. He said, it is upon you to pray the night prayer. It is upon you to pray the night prayer. Why? He mentions the sabab and the illah behind that. فَإِنَّهُ دَأْبُ الصَّالِحِينَ قَبْلَكُمْ. That it is the dab, it is the mannerism, it is the way of the righteous people that came before you. وَهُوَ قُرْبَةٌ لَكُمْ إِلَى رَبِّكُمْ. It is a means for you of nearness to your Lord. وَمُكَفِّرَةٌ لِلسَّيِّئَاتِ, and a means of expiation of your sins. And it's likewise something that will prevent you from falling into disobedience of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Likewise, from the virtues of Qiyamul Layl is that it is the best prayer. It is the best prayer after the obligatory salawat. There's no prayer after the obligatory salawat that is better than Qiyamul Layl. It has come on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and that which is marfu' from the Prophet alayhi wasallam, that he was asked, ay salat afdalu ba'd al-maktuba, which prayer is best after the obligatory salawat, wa ay siyam afdalu ba'd shahr Ramadan, and what fast is best after fasting in the month of Ramadan. Qala, he said alayhi wasallam, afdalu salat ba'd salat al-maktuba as-salah fi jawf al-layl. The best prayer after the obligatory salah is prayer in the middle of the night. And the best fast after the fast of Ramadan is Siyam Shahr al-Muharram. It's the fast, the month of Allah, Muharram. The next point, Barakallahu Fikum, is regarding the legislation of praying the night prayer, Jama'atan. The legislation of praying the night prayer in congregation. No doubt, it is legislated. It is from the Sunnah of our beloved Prophet ﷺ to pray the night prayer in Ramadan, Jama'atan, in congregation. Due to what has come on the authority of Aisha, radiyallahu ta'ala anha, the mother of the believers, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, ذات يوم or ذات ليلة, he came to the masjid one night, فصلى بصلاته ناس. And so some people saw him praying and they joined him in prayer. And then the next night, more people had gathered and prayed along with him. And then on the third night or the fourth night, they had gathered in a larger crowd. But the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, lam yakhruj ilayhim. He did not come to them. He did not come out. فَلَمَّا أَصْبَحَ, when the morning came, قال, he said alayhi wasallam, قَدْ رَأَيْتُ الَّذِي صَنَعْتُمْ. I have seen what you have done. I mean, I saw you gathering. وَلَمْ يَمْنَعْنِي مِنَ الْخُرُوجِ إِلَيْكُمْ, and nothing prevented me from coming out praying along with you. إِلَّا أَنِّي خَشِيتُ أَن تُفْرَضْ عَلَيْكُمْ وَذَلِكَ فِي رَمَضَانِ. Nothing prevented me from coming out to you and praying along with you, except that I feared that it would become obligatory upon you. And this, the narrator said, was in the month of Ramadan. Now, and so the fear of the Messenger of Allah, his shafaqah for his ummah, his compassion and mercy that he had for his ummah, is what prevented him from keeping up this practice of coming out, praying along with his companions, out of fear that it will become obligatory upon them. Because we're speaking about waqt al-nuzul. It is the time of revelation. The time when revelation is coming down, the time of tashri', the time in which legislations are being handed down. So the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, he was afraid that Allah Ta'ala would make it binding and obligatory upon the people, and they wouldn't be able to handle that. Now, However, after the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam passed away, we are no longer in the time of tashri'. No new legislation is coming. No new obligations are coming. No new prohibitions are coming. Now the legislation is set, so therefore this fear no longer remains. And so you have that which is reported from Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Qari, that he said, "Kharajtu ma'a Umar ibn Khattab," that I came out along with Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu laylatan fi Ramadan, one night in the month of Ramadan, to the masjid. So behold, we saw people scattered about. We saw people in the masjid scattered about. So a man here was praying by himself, and then two men over here were praying by themselves, and then a small group is praying over here by themselves. So Umar said, "Inni ara law jama'tu ha'ula ala qari'in wahidan lakana amthal." Umar ibn Khattab said, "I hold that if I were to gather them all together to pray behind one man, that would be most exemplary." It's better than one man praying here by himself, two over here praying by themselves. Bring the people together, unify with the people behind one imam, and let them pray behind this one imam. That is amthal. Why is it amthal? Because the Messenger of Allah did it, alayhi wasallam. Because he, alayhi wasallam, did it. Now, and so Umar, he resolved to gather the people together behind Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay ibn Ka'b. Now, and then he came out. He said, then I came out. The narrator said, I came out with him on another night, and the people were praying with their qari. They were praying in jama'ah with their reciter. Umar ibn Khattab, he said, "Ni'am al-bid'ah hadihi." He said, what a good innovation this is. What a good innovation this is. So what is the meaning of the qawl of Umar ibn Khattab, that this is a good bid'ah? What's the meaning of his statement? It's a good bid'ah. Lughatan. Naam, ahsant. Somebody said, what, he's turning back? Naam. Okay. Both answers are true, but that which is correct, the meaning of his qawl is, as our brother mentioned, he used the term bid'ah from a linguistic standpoint. Because you have bid'ah from a linguistic standpoint, you have bid'ah from a shar'i standpoint. From a shar'i standpoint, from a legislative standpoint, kullu bid'atin dalala. Every innovation is misguidance. Somebody invents something and innovates something in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal that has no basis whatsoever. Every innovation of this nature is dalala. Now, but Umar ibn Khattab's usage of the term was from a linguistic standpoint. Meaning there's something which the people were not doing, and now they're doing it. Something which they were not doing, and now they're doing it. But it has a basis in the legislation, so therefore it's not a bid'ah from a legislative standpoint. And the basis, we've already heard it. The Messenger of Allah, he did it. He prayed night prayer in Jama'ah along with his companions, but he feared that it would become binding and obligatory upon them. Therefore, he left it off. Sheikh bin Baz, he mentions هذه من جهة اللغة. The Umar's usage is from the standpoint of the Arabic language. Bid'atun min jihat al-lugha. He says, إِلَّا فَهِيَ سُنَّةٌ. For this affair is a sunnah. This affair, praying the night prayer in Jama'ah, is a sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ did it. وَشَرَعَهَا. He legislated it. وَدَعَى إِلَيْهَا. And he called to it. Many narrations where he was instructing the people to pray in congregation. Now, لكن الرسول عليه السلام مات وما جمعهم على إمام واحد. But he passed away having not gathered them upon one imam. And so Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he instituted this and he revived this sunnah and referred to it as a bid'ah from the linguistic standpoint. From the linguistic standpoint. And not from the standpoint of the legislation. As we said, from the standpoint of the legislation, every single innovation is misguidance. There's no such thing as a good bid'ah in the legislation. You can't make something up in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a refutation against the people of innovation and deviation. Those who say that from the bid'ah, that is that which takes the 5 rulings. Some bid'ah is haram, some bid'ah is just disliked, some bid'ah is permissible, some bid'ah is actually wajib. in the deen of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, so this is not correct. It is not correct. Rather, every bid'ah in the deen is misguidance, and all misguidance is inside of the hellfire. Now, the next point, Hakum is hal tujad lahu, is there a specific number of raka'at for the night prayer in Ramadan? Is there a specific number of raka'at for the night prayer in Ramadan? This point is a point of khilaf between the ulama. The fuqaha, they differ regarding this issue. From them there are those who say that the night prayer in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan does not exceed 11 or 13 raka'at. It is the chosen viewpoint of Shaykh Al-Albani alayhi rahmatullah. And from that which indicates this is the statement of Aisha radiyallahu anha, in which she was asked regarding the qiyam of the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam in Ramadan. And she said, radiyallahu anha, ما كان يزيد في رمضان ولا في غيره على 11 ركعة. That he did not exceed in the month of Ramadan nor outside of it 11 raka'at. Another narration mentions 13. Now, others amongst the ulama respond to this by saying this narration لا يفيد الحصر. It does not denote restriction. It does not denote restriction. Now, rather, the affair is as the Messenger of Allah said, alayhi salam, salatul layl mathna mathna, that the night prayer is 2 raka'ah by 2 raka'ah. فَإِذَا خَشِيَ أَحَدُكُمْ الصَّبْحِ, and if one of you fears the drawing near of morning time, then let him make witr of as 1 raka'ah and conclude what he has prayed. So here he did not restrict it. Now, 2. For this reason you find some of the Salah praying 22 raka'ah, some of them praying 32 raka'ah, some of them praying more than that, less than that. Now, not restricting it because they held it to be something which is unrestricted. Now, whatever the case, as it relates to this issue, it is one of khilaf, as you mentioned. So now we want to discuss the kayfiyat, bearing in mind that there's khilaf between the scholars on it. Bearing in mind that the scholars differ regarding the number. Now, Shaykh Al-Albani is amongst those who hold that it does not exceed 11 or 13, based upon the hadith of Aisha. Now, and he mentions from this standpoint 6 different methods of performing the night prayer. Bearing in mind that his viewpoint is that it does not exceed what? 11 or 13. He mentions 6 different methods of the night prayer. And we'll run through them quickly, inshallah ta'ala. Shaykh Al-Albani mentions in his book regarding the night prayer that the kayfiyya al-ula, the first method of performing the night prayer, is that it consists of 13 rak'ah. It will consist of 13 rak'ah. One commences the 13 rak'ah with 2 light rak'ah. You start it with 2 light rak'ah. Now, and they are, based upon the stronger and more preponderant viewpoint, the sunnah prayers after Isha. There are 2 sunnah rak'ah after Isha. Now, or they are 2 specific rak'ah with which one commences the night prayer. Then after that, he prays 2 rak'ah long. 2 very long rak'ah. And then he prays 2 rak'ah thereafter that are less than them in length. And then he prays 2 rak'ah which are of medium length. And then he prays 2 more rak'ah that are very long. And then 2 rak'ah that are less than that in length. And then he prays 2 rak'ah that are less than the 2 that came before it. And then he prays 2 rak'ah again that are less than that. And then he prays 2 rak'ah that are less than that. And then he prays 1 rak'ah of witr. This is the first method. The second method that he mentions is that one prays 13 rak'ah. The second method is 13 rak'ah. And amongst them he prays 8 rak'ah with a taslim after every 2. He salams out after every 2. And then he makes his witr as 5 rak'ah. He makes witr as 5 rak'ah with no sitting, meaning no tashahud, and no taslim until the 5th. He can make 5 rak'ahs straight through. He does not sit for tashahud, and he does not taslim until the last or the 5th rak'ah. That will make 13. The third method that he mentions is going to consist of 11 rak'ah, making taslim after every 2, and then concluding the 11 with the 1 rak'ah witr. That's simple. Fourth method, it consists of 11 rak'ah. So a person prays 4 rak'ah with only 1 taslim. 4 rak'ah straight through, no sitting, 1 taslim. And then another 4 similarly, straight through, no sitting, no taslim until the 4th. And then he prays 3. And then he prays 3. Now, the Shaykh says, هل كان يجلس بين كل ركعتين من الأربع والثلاث? Is one to pray or is one to sit for tashahud and between every 2 rak'ah in this method? Does he say tashahud and just stand back up? لم نجد جوابا شافيا في ذلك. The Shaykh says we have not found anything conclusive as it relates to this issue. لكن الجلوس في الثلاث لا يشرع. But sitting in the 3 is something which is not legislated, meaning until the last, if you follow this method. Again, to repeat, 4 rak'ah straight through, no taslim until the 4th. Then another 4 the same exact way, and then 3 rak'ah straight through with only 1 taslim. The fifth method is one prays 11 rak'ah. Amongst them, he prays 8 rak'ah straight through. La yaq'ad fiha, no sitting. 8 rak'ah straight through with no sitting, and no tashahud, except in the 8th rak'ah. He sits, he makes tashahud, sends salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ, and then stands straight back up without making taslim. And then he makes his witr as 1 rak'ah. He makes taslim after that, that's 9. And then he prays 2 rak'ah after that while sitting. He prays 2 rak'ah after that from the sitting position. The 6th method, and the final one, is that one prays 9 rak'ah. He prays 9 rak'ah, and amongst them he prays 6 of those 9 without any sitting, meaning no tashahud. He does not sit until the 6th amongst them. Then he makes tashahud, sends salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ, wa sallama, and then he makes taslim out after those 6. And then the last 3 he's going to make them in the manner that is mentioned in the previous method, meaning 3 straight through with no taslim, no sitting until the 3rd. The Shaykh says, هذه الكيفيات أو هذه هي الكيفيات التي ثبتت عن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام نصا عنه. These methods are that which has been affirmed from the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام textually. There are hadith to prove each one of these methods. Now, he says it is possible that a person can add to them other methods as well, and this is by way of decreasing the number. By way of decreasing the number, bearing in mind, Shaykh al-Albani holds that it is not to exceed 11 or 13. So you can mix it up by way of adding, or by way of decreasing the number based upon the aforementioned methods. Now, even to the point that you can make the night prayer as, what's the least amount? 1. You can make 1 and suffice for that. And the most beloved action to Allah Azza wa Jal are those actions that are the most consistent, even if they are few. So it's better for you to pray 1 than not pray any at all. The next point is in relation to the last 3 rak'ah of the night prayer. What is to be recited within them? What is to be recited within them? In general, one is not restricted in terms of what he or she can recite within those last 3. You can recite whatever is easy for you from the book of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. However, from the sunnah of our beloved Prophet alayhi salam, is that in the first of the last 3, one recites Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la. One recites Surah Al-A'la. In the second of the last three, one recites Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun. In the third of the last three, one recites Qul Huwallahu Ahad. And at times, he can add Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. Now, and it's been authentically reported from the Prophet ﷺ that in the last rak'at of the witr prayer, he recited 100 verses of Surah An-Nisa. 100 verses of Surah An-Nisa. The last point that we're going to mention, and this topic is a very broad topic in reality. There's so many other things that can be mentioned regarding women praying the night prayer, any other affairs connected to that. How long should the recitation be? Resting in between. And one thing that we're going to mention at the end, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But we conclude by way of mentioning the affair of al-qunut. The affair of al-qunut in the night prayer. Shaykh al-Albani mentions بعد الفراغ من القراءة وقبل الركوع that in the last rakat of the witr prayer, after one completes the recitation and before he bows, before the bowing, yaqnut, ahyanan, one is to make the qunut at times, sometimes, with the dua which the Prophet ﷺ taught to his sibt, to his grandson. The sibt is the grandson by way of your daughter. It's called a sibt. Your grandson by way of your daughter is called a sibt. Your grandson by way of your son is called what? Hafid. Hafid. Now, but his sibt, meaning Hassan ibn Ali, he taught him a dua to say in his qunut within his witr prayer. And it is the well-known supplication, Allahumma hdini fi man hadayt, wa'afini fi man afayt, وتولني في من توليت وبارك لي فيما أعطيت وقيني شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من وليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت لا منج منك إلا إليك. So the meaning of this supplication is, Oh Allah, guide me amongst those whom you have guided, and heal me amongst those whom you have healed, and have allegiance for me amongst those whom you have allegiance with, and bless me in that which you have given me, and protect me from the evil of that which you have decreed. For indeed you decree, and none decrees over you. Indeed none can humiliate the one whom you have had allegiance with, and none can give honor to the one that you have enmity for. You are blessed, O our Lord, and you are exalted. There is no refuge from you except with you. And this wording is to be utilized when you're praying by yourself. If you're leading others in the night prayer, then you can change the sigha to make it jama, to make it plural. So you would say, مثلا, Allahumma hdina fi man adayt, or fi man hadayt. O Allah, guide us amongst those whom you have guided. Wa'afina fi man afayt. And protect us and give us well-being amongst those you have given well-being to. And like this, so on and so forth. As opposed to making it singular first person, you would make it plural first person. And this is better, because they say that if a person is leading the people in prayer, the ulama mentioned if a person is leading the people in prayer, and he makes his dua only for himself, he's betrayed those he's leading. He's betrayed those he's leading. Now, so you should make it plural if you're leading the people in the salah. Now, and you can say other than that from supplications that have been transmitted from the Prophet ﷺ as well. However, one should take care not to sing the qunut, not to sing, and don't burden yourself with going the extra mile trying to make it rhyme, as you find some of the people doing. This is something which is not called for. But you say the supplication that have come within the sunnah. If it happens to rhyme, okay. But this is not your aim, not your goal. You're not aiming and objectifying making your qunut rhyme, as some of the people do. And you're not trying to sing the qunut. There are things which the ulama have warned against. And at times, you can also, at the end of it, send the salawat and salamat upon the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And there is no harm There's no harm upon the person if he makes the qunut after the ruku'. No harm in making it as well after the ruku'. Now, and whoever increases upon it by way of making the la'n upon the disbelievers, and likewise singing the salat upon the Prophet alayhi salam, and likewise making dua for the Muslims, especially in the second half of the month of Ramadan, there's no harm in this due to the fact that it has been reported from the Imams during the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The last point that we want to mention now is in relation to what we find from some of the people, in which in between every 4 raka'at of the night prayer, they stop and give a reminder. You see this a lot in Misr. In Egypt, a lot of the Imams, they do this in the masajid. After the 4 raka'at, the Imam stops, he pauses, he turns around, he gives a reminder. It's something which is not legislated. It's not legislated. In fact, it is a religious innovation to do so, consistently anyway. Now, and this is that which we want to mention concerning the night prayer. Again, there's much more that can be said regarding the topic, but our aim was to summarize these points. Allah Ta'ala knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.